absolute honor to be able to welcome our next guest to Off the Podium, a man who really needs little introduction, a two-time Olympic champion, the former fastest man. I'm just going to call him the fastest man in the world. He still holds the world record in the 50 meters, so I'm just saying that that counts as still the fastest man in the world, and recently released author from the book Undisputed, A Champion's Life, which is now available, telling the amazing story of his amazing career. It's a pleasure to welcome to the program the one, the only, Mr. Donovan Bailey. Donovan, welcome to the program today.
Thank you for having me, Ben, and glad to be here and glad to talk to you.
I am so pumped, so excited, and I can imagine for you the last couple of months have been quite a reflecting one with this book out there. Obviously working on this book for a little bit, but now that it's been out for a couple of months, you've done a few of these interviews, you've been able to sort of relive your amazing career. How have you found sort of the feedback that has come since this book has been released?
You know what? I've been, I think that there have been inquiries about this book for the last 20 years, and I guess I can see I'm relieved that finally it's out there, and I get to share my story again with track and field fans around the globe, especially Canadians and people in the Commonwealth, anyways. So it's been amazing. Great feedback. I realized that writing a book, I realized that there's probably 90% more stories to be told. So maybe there's another book or two in me.
It's always that way, isn't it? I guess once you sort of uncork that bottle and you start going down that memory lane of kind of all these other ones that don't fit in that book. We see that with so many athletes who kind of do that. But was there any particular sort of moment that really sort of stood out to you in terms of just uncorking that bottle, as I mentioned, to get those memories out and tell the stories in this book?
There's lots. I mean, like I said, fortunately or unfortunately, I have an incredible group of friends that's been with me since probably teenage years, high school, whatever. And what I find in doing the book is that there are things, obviously there's some things that I remember because they're highlights in my life. However, I think some of the best stories are basically been left because I forgot them. So it's incredible that I have I have a bunch of friends. I've got some journalist buddies, training partners, athletes I competed against. So yeah, like I said, there's still a lot more, but I think that with Undisputed, it formulates the foundation in which my story is to be told. And so I think that readers who are fans of mine, fans of athletics, fans of politics, fans of the politics of sports, fans of anything really. They can go out and get the book, and then because it formulates the foundation, then we'll be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4 series. Who knows?
It's almost like the Harry Potter series, basically. It's just a franchise.
Could be.
Going that way. I mean, you mentioned obviously with athletics. I mean, we could have been here talking about something completely differently. Your dream was to be an NBA basketballer, Donovan. This is something that you sort of pursued growing up. I mean, do you sort of reflect back now and think how differently had you gone a different path, and we've been talking to you here maybe as an NBA multiple MVP champion, things along those lines, rather than a two-time Olympic gold medalist?
You know what? No, I don't believe that there's any room in the NBA for a 6'2" power forward, which is what I played in college and what I played in high school. Obviously, because of my athletic, my blessed athletic ability. But you know what? I love basketball, man. I got to tell you. I mean, it's Monday, and I play in the men's league still. So I do play. I'm literally playing tonight. Yes, I have a game tonight. So that dream hasn't died. There is no NBA calling. There will be no scouts. However, you know what? I love the game. I'm passionate about the game. I enjoy the game. It's still something that my body has held together, sorta. That it allows me to enjoy the game still at my age. The group of guys I play with are incredible competitors, and then we all go out and have a drink after it's all done. So basketball for me is a dream. I mean, was a dream back then. It's a sport I'm passionate about. The issue, Ben, with me is this. I only have 2 gears. So when I got into basketball, it was just like, I give it my all. And you know what? my oldest son right now, Mateus, is playing basketball at a prep school in the USA. So he is living out his dream, and secretly I can, vicariously live through him. So that's
Of
actually a
course.
good thing.
I like that. I love hearing this about sort of this careers that happen afterwards, these passion. We had Simon Whitfield on last year, and he's a big football fan. So he's playing soccer on Vancouver Island, kind of, in this post-Olympic career. Now we've got Donovan Bailey playing basketball. I mean, is Wayne Gretzky secretly like a snooker champion? Like, I mean, I love this kind of like second wind from
He
Canadian
could be.
legends who are doing other things.
Well, Wayne could be. I mean, I'm not sure. Simon, like 100% Simon. I see Simon playing football. That's just how he's made. But yeah, Wayne, I'm very certain Wayne could do something. Wayne could do. Listen, I mean, I was actually watching some old clips of Wayne Gretzky, and when they used to have the sports all stars, and this is many moons ago, and clearly I'm aging myself because it was even before I was an athlete. And then Wayne Gretzky ran like a 50-meter dash and like beat a whole bunch of footballers and basketball players, and I mean, so
Wow.
Wayne is very talented, man. But either way, I believe that any athlete that you speak to anywhere in the world, they always have a passion. Like, I mean, I don't know anybody that is excellent in one thing or with God-given talent in one thing and probably wouldn't express, that talent into doing some other sport. Basketball is mine. I play golf. I play a lot of golf in the summer too. But I like sports. Period. I'm a fan of sports, which is kind of speaking to you today is great because I know you're a sports fan. So I mean, if the Australian rules football's on, rugby's on, I have friends right across the plane in American football, basketball, baseball, whatever.
I
Yeah.
love it.
So, but basketball clearly is my fan.
Did you when you been in Australia? We're talking a bit off air about the times you've been here. You get to check out a bit of Australian rules football. Kind of, what did you think about it when you saw it?
I did. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, well, listen. I mean, that's a real man sport. I spent. I got to tell you, I used to train for 3 or 4 months in Melbourne, and then we'll go and compete in New Zealand. But our base was in Melbourne, and then we travel around Australia in a couple of the competitions that they have in your summer, which is now, I believe. It's incredible. I mean, Australian rules football, rugby. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but one of the best rugby players that ever lived in the world, that ever was in the world, is a guy named Jonah Loma. So I mean, you clearly know who it is. But he trained with me for a very short period of time.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I mean, so I got to meet him, and I got to train with him a couple of times. Oh, he came and trained with us a couple of times. One of the most incredible athletes, for me to ever be beside or to train with. I mean, so yeah, incredible. So yes, again, Australian rules football. I mean, obviously, I'm a fan of athletics. I still, have my thumb on the pulse of all the kids that are doing incredible things today. But yeah, when I was in Australia, I got to see, rugby, football, and also I watched a lot of tennis in Melbourne.
Great. Well, obviously just seen that happen, of course, how big that happens there. The one part of your story that I absolutely love is the fact that, touching on that basketball sort of side of things, it's when you sort of decided to take sprinting more seriously. You're essentially working as a stockbroker. And then there's this story of you basically going along to a track meet with your friends, and you had to borrow clothes to do a race and then win that race. That kind of then ultimately led on a path towards it's going to go on that. I mean, at what point to you was it that you really thought, okay, this is something that I need to pursue, that potentially this could take me far towards an Olympic Games?
You know what? Let me qualify that, because a lot of times I speak to the average person. And again, I've been blessed to have fantastic physical tools. Now, when I decided when I was going to go watch Hopton and Andre Metivier when they were trying to make our national team, I was playing basketball probably 7 days a week. So I wasn't exactly a couch potato, okay? Because I think sometimes oh my God, there are times, Ben, when you have a conversation with someone, they think, oh, he was just sitting on the couch watching TV and drinking Coca-Cola and eating donuts, and he just decided to go run. No, I've never been in terrible shape, right? I mean, maybe I'm in the worst shape of my life today, and I know that the shape that I'm in today, every single man on this planet would wish that they were in the shape that I'm in today.
I was
And
going to say, I guarantee you still probably beat most of us in 100 meters on them. Just
right,
saying, and even in the shape you're in today.
yes, yeah. Well, you know what? I've been blessed with fantastic genes. So when I went to go watch the competition, I had been toying around with track and field, and also the fact that I took it for granted. I knew I was fast. I've always known I was fast. I was one of the fastest teenagers in Canada, in my entire teenage years. So when I showed up, when I was working in business, and then I showed up to watch these guys, I was not exactly not in good shape, right? I mean, it wasn't track training, but when I got in there and I won, I mean, I just thought that, and I guess my friends thought that I never worked at it. And I was beating the people that every day they're training, every day they're in weights and physio and great program and nutrition. And I really was just messing around, So I think that it was from then that, the great support system that I have, the friends that I have, just said, hey, listen, are you going to be, what, you need to stop messing around. And of course, post that, when I met Dan Paff, who was the greatest coach on earth, when I met him, he said, listen, if and when you decide to take this seriously, you can be the greatest ever. And here I am, and he was at the time he was at Louisiana State University, and again I went there in March of 1994, and that's where the story began.
Which it's just incredible to think that in 2 years later you're Olympic champion. Was the Olympics always on the mind when things started to be serious, or was it when Dan came into the picture and he says you can be the greatest on earth, that then the Olympics sort of come into the mindset?
You know what? I think that I always, I've always had this broad confidence, and I never looked at the Olympics or the World Championships as goals. What I wanted to do was probably to get myself in a incredible environment, and an environment that was just breathing success. And so like in Canada, you don't have it, right? I mean, and at the end of the day, there's always people around you that if you're telling them a dream of yours, but it's too crazy, they'll spend their time thinking this person is crazy. So Dan was the first person that said, you can do this. And then I got to Louisiana, and it was just breathing success. You had the college kids that were doing very good. You had the professional athletes training with Dan, and each of them were the number one or number two or top five in their actual event around the world. So when I got to that environment, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess sky is the limit. So when I speak to kids now, Ben, I let them know that, I mean, you have to manifest all those things. Find the coach who can push you and challenge you. Find training partners that can push you and challenge you. And then being in that environment where it's breathing success. And yeah, so when I got to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I just saw all of that. So it allowed me to breathe every day, and it allowed me to manifest. It allowed me to be in that positive environment. It allowed me to challenge myself every single day in everything I do. So whether or not I was stretching or warming up, or going into an ice bath, or lifting weights, all of that to me was part of building. So I knew that at the end of all of that there was going to be success regardless of where it ended up.
What a fantastic way of saying that. And touching on, you go into the book about how Muhammad Ali was an idol of yours, and obviously kind of that level of bravado that you sort of had throughout the 90s. And you mentioned as a Canadian, that's not really something that Canadians are really known for. It's kind of, that's your neighbors to the south where you've got a bit more of that bravado and confidence going on there. So when you go to Louisiana, were you already a bit that way, or did that kind of help you get out of your skin to be around sort of Americans who are maybe a little bit more, out there than Canadians are sort of used to being?
Well, I'm Jamaican, so we are as brash, as patriotic, and as confident as anyone on the planet. So that's where I was born. I mean, again, the dominance of sports, of track and field from this little tiny island of 2+ million people is evident in what it is that was, that's been done. But so when I got to Baton Rouge, my confidence was already brimming. I was a confident kid playing basketball in high school. I ran track in high school, so my attitude was very much the same thing. I didn't have to be offensive to another person if I tell them that I've trained really hard and I plan on winning. So I didn't have to say a bad word to them. I'm just like, I don't know why you're here, but I feel like I'm going to win, right? But when I got, I've been called, Ben, I think that I've been called American. And that was a big insult back in the 1990s. Or
Still is today,
Canadian.
isn't it, Donovan? Come on.
Yes, and I'm just like, okay, so me being American means that I'm patriotic to the country that I'm from, Canada. I'm training really hard, and my intention is to be successful. I said, well, if that is what being American is, then I guess I am American. I said, in fact, being Jamaican, that's exactly who we are. And if you understand, the incredible, like the incredible success that, again, about the people from that island. It's not just track and field or sports. There's incredible footballers. We definitely have some of the greatest musicians in the history of the planet. Bob Marley, is the greatest, one of the greatest musicians that ever lived. But not only that, we've got scientists and mathematicians. We've got people graduating from some of the greatest universities, doctors, lawyers. So at the end of the day, there's a small island who feel that they're a massive country. So when I got to Louisiana, I think when I got there, it embodied me being a confident person, and it allowed me to flourish. And again, it was incredible. I actually remember when I got there, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, this is how it's gonna be. I'm like, yeah, I'm home for sure.
Nice. Which it is an interesting fact, because I find that a lot of what you said is similar to a lot of Australian athletes, that we're not necessarily cocky and sort of on a public scale on that level as well. And when we kind of do get athletes like that, it is often, oh, they're American or things like that, which it is interesting that, particularly in the 100 meters, where it is a very much a confidence built sport, you're out there, you're sort of being that way, that it can kind of still be looked down on that. It's very interesting to hear all that.
Well, ultimately, one, our sport is an individual sport.
Mm.
And we all know that when you line up, and I say this to kids all around the world, no matter what happens, and you don't necessarily have to look at the Olympic finals or the World Championships finals. When you look at any event, so I used to, you go and watch local competitions, whether it's Brisbane or Melbourne or, Sydney. The eight athletes that are in the finals are the best physical specimen of that event in that region. And obviously it goes from there all the way to the Olympic Games when you're looking at the greatest 8 people on earth. Now, what separates number 1 from number 8 has to do with the muscle between your ears. And obviously, if you are not confident, and if you have not put the work in, and if you're not mentally, physically, and psychologically prepared, you're going to be one of the people that are not going to make it to the podium. So at the end of the day, I encourage people that these are things that they must do. Believe, like I always talk about support system. My family, I'm a mama's boy. My dad was my best friend. I had an incredible support system. The buddies that I grew up with, I went to boarding school, through high school, college, those are some of these are all my friends today still. And we've always challenged each other. So I try to explain to kids, select really good people that are always going to help you along. And this goes in anything. This goes, Ben, with you as a journalist. You kind of go, okay, I need to be around other journalists who are always doing good, so I can look at how it is that they're doing, or how I can improve. So I tell kids this all the time. What separates number 1 from number 8 is what is between your ear. So ultimately, mental and psychological training is just as important as physical. The physical part is the easy part. So ultimately, that's really what it is. I pointed out all the time. I say to kids, and hopefully my message is getting across. And if I say one or two or three, every time I speak, then my work is done.
Well, you actually answered a question I was going to close on. Colin, our co-host, who sadly can't be here today, big fan of yours, and I'll mention something of that after, but he actually wanted you to give some advice to his son, Casper, because his son is literally about to start his first ever indoor track meet in a couple of weeks. 7 years old. So I'm
7.
guessing all of that's been personally directed towards Casper then, Donovan.
Well, Casper's got to enjoy it. I think that, yeah, listen, here's the thing. If I was looking at Casper right now, Casper, listen to me. Do you
It's
like
Uncle
it?
Donovan.
Yeah, Uncle Donovan talking. Do you like it? Do you enjoy it? Right? That's the first thing, right? Do you eat your vegetables? Do you go to bed at night? Do you wake up? Do you have Wheaties? Do you enjoy being out there? Does it make you feel like I will say like an angel? So, but when you're running, does it make you? Does it feel like you're flying? If that's the case, then enjoy it. It's one foot in front of the other. He's 7 years old. So I'm not going to tell him to go lift weights or what to eat or how to train. I think that ultimately the fact that you get serious about competition, and as soon as competition is finished, you can laugh with your pops or laugh with your friends. That's really what it is. It's the ultimate for me is, especially when kids are that young, get out there and enjoy it and have fun. That's what it is now. Obviously, it gets more serious when you're about 15, 16, 18. It gets a little bit more serious. But for now, really, it's just you're just enjoying it and having a smile and getting some good sleep.
Great advice, and I look forward to this clip being played in about 20 years on CBC when he's got that gold medal around his neck, and you've helped you call that one. A couple of things that I just would like to touch on, Donovan, just around sort of Atlanta and sort of things that followed. You touch in the book. I mean, the gold that you won was pretty much the day of the bombing. Obviously, the Atlanta bombing happened in the very early hours of the morning. You'd had your heats and your quarterfinals the day before, and then the final and the semifinal that night. And you touch on in the book just about how much security, obviously, there was. I believe even the Royal Canadian Mounted Police had to escort you to the stadium. Like, I mean, just did that play on the mind much? I mean, was there any sort of even doubt around whether the race would go on? Because obviously there was a lot of talk about maybe postponing or sort of cancelling. But I mean, just how did all of that affect the build up to your race that night?
Oh, listen, I'm very certain that it added a ton of cortisol in my back. I mean, ultimately, I think this is crazy. Ben, we have, I'm at the Olympic Games. Now, there's several other things that was happening, firing my agent, big Sports Illustrated article, getting drug tested that night by our great Canadian officials. But, I was in the middle. So this would be, so if we're playing a sports, if I'm playing like the Super Bowl or one incredible thing, this would be the halftime show was essentially what happened. I go to bed that night. The bombing occurs. I wake up in the morning. I think that my coach is challenging me to see if I'm in my zone still. He flicks on the TV. We now know that there is a bombing for sure. Someone's been killed, and many people have been injured. So this is halftime. I've done 2 rounds of the 100 meters, like you just said, and in those days you go 4 rounds, regardless whether you're number 1 in the world or you're number 200. Well, yeah, it was probably one of the toughest things that I had to go through psychologically. Again, but I was prepared. Obviously I was very disappointed and very upset when Dan and I were having a conversation about the possibility of cancellation. So, what I have to do then is kind of get back to, I think I went and had a little nap is what I did about the cancellation. Because number one, my concern ultimately was about the safety of the athletes and of people in America and Atlanta around the games, especially after what happened in Munich. So, when Dan came, I think Dan finally came in the room and said, oh yeah, by the way, it's probably a couple of hours later, he said, yeah, we're going to move on. We're going to, I think they're not going to cancel it. We're going to go. And ultimately, man, it's almost like flicking that switch again. It was, okay, I am here. I'm on a mission. Nothing is going to stop me from the goals that I've worked for, and I know I deserve, and I know I expect. So again, regardless of now, the Royal, the RCMP was there. I knew that, I had the best people that was going to escort me to the track. If every single person essentially is dedicating themselves and spending so much time in ensuring that I get to the track, then I have a responsibility. And for me, the responsibility was, I knew I was going to win gold. I didn't know how fast I was going to run. That's Dan and his stats. But yeah, mentally, it was a very, very tough morning. So when I finally got there, it was really, really tough. And then of course we have the false starts, which by the time we got to the false starts, I was just like, really? It was just like, so much that's been going on that I said, no, I don't care now what it is. I'm on the track. My father was in the stands. My daughter was turning 2 at the time. She was in the stand. My family was in the stand. All my friends from high school had, planes, trains, automobiles had actually came to Atlanta to watch. So I'm like, no. This is not. This is some stuff's gonna go down right now, and there's nothing or no one's gonna stop me.
And nothing, and nobody did, and the rest of history. One other question I'd like to ask, just fast forwarding a bit of time to sort of your analytics work that you obviously do now during the Olympics. Back in Rio, when Andre gets that bronze in the 100 meters, Colin told the story a lot about sort of how you watched the race back and sort of like, there's footage of you and everything, and it became a bit of a big deal. Kind of, here's Donovan Bailey watching Andre de Grasse win this medal. Was that planned, or was that sort of something that sort of came along that once he won that medal you did? And did you realize sort of this was going to be a big deal? Because I believe they did it with Mark Tewksbury, with Penny Alexiak, and kind of this was almost a thing, like, let's get these former champions to just kind of take through these new Canadian champions that are emerging at such a great gains for Canada back in Rio.
For me, it was not planned. For me, okay, I can only speak of me. Here's how this works. I am a fan, and I've been the most successful sprinter of my generation. My responsibility, Ben, is to play it forward. So in 2016, I see Andre running. Now I see like Zarnell Hughes in the UK doing amazing things. Akeem Blake in Jamaica doing great. Noah Lyles in America doing amazing. Arian Knighton. I'm just saying to you that, let's see Tobago. I'm telling you that I'm a fan. And when I see kids that are doing amazing things, my job is to support them. As an ambassador of the sport and obviously one of the builders and the foundation, the continued foundation of this sport, my responsibility is to always cheer on the next kid, the next one that has a dream, I'm like, that's why, like, 2024, I'm so looking forward to what Elaine Thompson and Shelly-Ann Fraser is going to do when they get together. I'm looking forward to Sha'Carri and Sharika. I'm looking forward to some of the young athletes that are coming, the 18, 19-year-old Brianna Liston, and the twins that are working out in Jamaica. I'm also looking, obviously, for Talu, the people, some of the older athletes that are still doing incredibly well. I want to see what Marcel Jacobs is going to do, what his capabilities are. For me, I think Marvin Bracey is one of the greatest sprinters. Is he going to get his mind right so that he can actually hold on for that last 30 meters and be the Olympic champion? So I am excited when you talk about athletes or athletics. I'm excited to always see those people. When I see, but I'm saying just as that, I saw Dwayne Chambers ran a 60-meter dash a couple of weeks ago as a 48-year-old or whatever the hell he is right now, running 6.81. That's crazy. I mean, I sent
You
a
could
note
take
to
him
him.
on, couldn't you? Come on.
Oh, me? Oh God, no, 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 no. Those days are done. I'm a cheerleader now. I mean, but it's just like, Olympic champion, world champion, Linford Christie, incredible rival, great competitor, fantastic friend. I mean, he just benched 130 kilos. My God, at 60 years old. I mean,
Incredible.
I'm saying to you, our sport is the most popular individual sport on the planet. There is nowhere on this planet that someone is not running or jumping or throwing something. And there are times I think that maybe, again, because of the overarching politics of sport, we don't get the recognition that we deserve. But I think that, in my position as one of the pillars, hey, I gotta cheer on these kids. I mean, anytime there's, listen, I'm looking forward to Rowan Browning. I hope
Well, I was going to bring him up because you talk about the attention it gets. I swear, during Tokyo, we won equal record amount of gold medals that Australia's ever won at Olympics. Rowan Browning's win in his heat, I swear, was up there with all of those gold medals in terms of the attention and how popular it was. And we love the mullet, right? We love everything about him.
Well, first of all, I mean, the other thing is all of the you can I don't know, all of the fast Australian athletes that were running 100. I can name a few and that were part of the relay. We're always great friends. The Canadians and the Australians and the British were always great friends. So when I see a win in Australia, when I see Rowan crushing it, I'm like, yes. You know what? I'm just saying to that, watching him, and I remember the first time he went sub 10, I'm like, what? Yeah, man, bring it. You know what I'm like? So again, I'm looking forward to see what he's gonna do. Again, these are kids that I love. These are kids that I love to see winning, breaking records, taking their body to the next level, challenging the other great athletes that are from around the world and having fun doing it. So yeah, I mean, believe me,
I love that passion, Donovan. The passion's still there. Like, I mean, you just want to be on that plane to Paris right now. I feel like you're just like, come on, put me there, coach. I'm ready. Let's go.
Listen, I can talk a good game right now, but believe me, if I put some track shoes on right now, I'm not going to get far down the track.
Guarantee you'd beat me. Although I'd be up for a challenge. But I mean, hey, like, let's be honest. Most people listening to this. Before I let you go, Donovan, the one thing I've got to say. So obviously, as I mentioned, Colin sadly couldn't be here today. But we're an Olympics podcast. Obviously, we've been doing this now for 8 years. And I don't think we would be doing this if it was for you, because Colin's asked me to pass on the message that you are basically the reason why he loves the Olympics. During the Atlanta Olympics, him and his friend were spending basically hours after your wins just watching it over and over again on tape. And you've got a photo behind you right now of you with the flag. He has, ever since day one, had a picture of you winning that gold medal in Atlanta sitting behind him. So I had to share that story. So thank you for helping us have this podcast, Donovan, because I couldn't do this by myself for 8 years. Colin's obviously very helpful. So I had to pass that message on behalf of him.
Listen, give Colin a message for me, or maybe I'll give it to him. Listen, dude, thank you for your support. And maybe I need to come back on when you're on.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how that goes. It's been an absolute pleasure, though, Donovan, to chat. Of course, Undisputed: A Champion's Life is available now. You can get it via Amazon. Where all good books are sold. We'll put it up on our pages for people to check it out. But, mate, seriously, absolute pleasure. And we look forward to seeing how you play out during Paris this year on CBC and beyond.
Yes, well, Ben, great chatting with you. And yeah, you know what? Good luck. Good luck to all those kids trying to make it to Paris. Do every single thing that you can. Live it, breathe it, manifest it. You know what? And hope to see you all in Paris. And good luck. I mean, that's it. Stay healthy. Good luck and go get it.